interested in all the different ways that people have talked about how they became preachers. Curious about Frank's lesson. Jerry, come and lead us. Here's my notes. My baby PowerPoint. I have nothing to put on the screen. Like I explained earlier, my class on the other subject, then my second one, why I preach. I've been thinking exactly what am I doing? Why? What's the reason for my preaching? I began to think about preaching, connected with preaching. And I started to put a note here, pictures, my family, how they influenced me. And then I was baptized, I started teaching, and then maybe I not remember all these things. I had dark hair then. Then came along children. And, that's not me anymore. Sorry, my wife could not be here with you. Maybe some of you know that the problem with her ankle. She broke her ankle last January, and she's been hobbled since that. And been in a wheelchair some, and finally got the cast off. There's a lot of hurt. But she is improving. But I know this workshop, all of us together, would cause her ankle to swell and have a worse problem. So made her give up and stay home. But she told me, hello to everybody, all of you. All you hearing, and tell her hello. Last night, we talked with her on video phone, and everybody's saying hello. Remember, I said hello, okay, from the workshop. We miss her. You are in her prayers. The workshop is very successful. That's good. Now, why? Why do I preach? As a step back, really, I don't know what started me to become interested in preacher. I really don't remember that. But for sure, I know God's plan for me. Yes. God can answer that question. Exactly. I'm a little bit vague. Was it this, or that? You know. But I'll try to begin as I growing up as a boy. My family, mother and father, sisters, always went to Church of Christ. We went all the time, even though it's a country, it's a country church. At my time, did not have many cars. Most of people came on a horse and wagon, rode to church in a wagon. You're excited to get on with me. I would drive the mule as we drove to church. how far? 6 miles from home. We went to church in a wagon. Today, everybody's passing by, all the cars. Where are they going so fast? We know. But I enjoyed going in with the horse and wagon, going to the with my friends and my cousins, etc. I did not like what I was doing because of Bible class. I was just sitting there. I know nothing. I didn't know anything. I was just a kid talking, and worship time worse than the other hour, longer, and I was restless. Mom kept saying, "Be quiet, be quiet." Then I found a bad idea, close to the window. I would sit close to the window. I'd lean, and I could watch what went on while the man was preaching. I was looking out the window, at the birds hopping and watching them. And I'd try to tell Mom, "Oh, there's a bird out there." But every time I went to church, I started to think, for the hearing people, it's not right for me. Why should I go to church? But I did start picking up things about Jesus. Then school, the hearing public school I went to. I found the teacher saw me looking all over the place like I did in church. He explained, "Wow, I can't teach this boy." Then my parents were kind of discouraged. They never heard much about a deafness. They didn't know anything. They were afraid when I grow up, undisciplined, unlearned, uneducated, my knowledge would be too low. And then it happened, they saw a family doctor. And he said, they'll find a way for me. And they met with my family doctor, checked, and he found there's a school for the deaf there. And so my parents wrote a letter to that school. And they explained the situation, the requirements. And they asked for permission for us to go. Yes, you can come. Fine. I went to the school. An old Ford, my uncle's car, motored up there. 14 times stop to get water, it get hot. But I don't know, almost 200 miles it was getting there. Went to the school. Wow, I looked around. Everybody's signing. "Hello, look at you. You're coming here." I knew no sign language. At home, we always just set up home signs. But Mom and Dad talked to the supervisor. Don't fall in love. And, don't run away. They said. Okay. I have to get a hug. I have to give a hug before they left. But okay. Went to the yard, and they took off. And then I looked up. They were gone. Mom and Dad were gone. At night, I wanted to talk to Mom, but they were gone. I felt like they just left me and ran off. And I cried all night. I couldn't sleep. As time went on, it improved, and I grew up. A few years later, I remember Mom told me, "I want someday for you to be a preacher." A preacher? Me? No. But I remembered that word. I remembered that. And it went on. Later, again, Mom said, I want you to be a preacher. I went to school, required me to read the Bible. On Sunday, everybody came to class with the Bible every Sunday. That was really very useful. It helped me to grow in knowledge of the Bible. I watched Mom. She would read that Bible every night and do a book lesson and fill out the answers. I saw my mom doing that. Wow, she must really be smart. As I grew up, I showed her this book. I can find things in the Bible too. I started keeping answers, and it helped me to grow in the knowledge of the Bible way, through Mom's encouraging me. Make this story short, I grew up that way. When I went to school, began to talk, you can't become a preacher. There's no church that would hire a deaf preacher. Really? Is that a fact? Then I saw one preacher that was deaf, that went to deaf school every month. And he tells stories about Jesus. I watched that. He's a full-time preacher. That's interesting. Then I went home. I told Mom, I explained, there's a preacher. Maybe someday I could be a preacher. No. It was Episcopal preacher. Now for that, you go to the Church of Christ. It was not an Episcopal. They're giving wrong teaching. I was kind of humbled by Mom's direction. Then I didn't know any deaf preachers in the Church of Christ. I didn't know any. I got older and older. Then I found out they had a deaf preacher. That time, it was Gordon Crocker. He had gone to Birmingham, Alabama. I've heard about that. That's a hearing person, very skilled in sign language, but teach the deaf. As time progressed, I finished graduating. I found a good job far away, and where another uncle lived. Found a job in Alabama. I couldn't find one, but too small shop. It's a printing shop. But I went to a bigger print shop, a bigger area, and better pay. I wanted to go to that one and start progressing. I noticed my life was kind of worldly. I call it wild people. That's who I did not feel right with all that. Their stories were dirty. I'm south where I was. Why did you say? Why did you keep so quiet? I'm not used to this. South people are more quiet. These northern people are very different. Don't think you're more holy than being a square box. I wanted to go back south to be with Christian people. But somehow God led me to meet a young girl. She was very shy. No. She's very narrow-minded. Well, I like to hear that side. She's very conservative, very narrow. We began to go, and we liked each other. We got married. But she was Catholic. I'm not, but we got married. I teach her a little bit. She learned a little bit, much as possible. We got married. I have 4 children. oldest one now, my daughter, named Frances, started learning sign language before she knew how to speak. She could sign. All the others followed Frances' footsteps. They all learned to sign. Oldest daughter, a TV program, like a rubber band. They would teach sign language. But at 10, 11 years old, they were teaching kids in the public schools. You could watch the TV program and copy signs. I would go, you know sign language? What's the word? And they asked me that, and I'd use that word. And it just progressed for several years. My wife started going to church. They had a deaf teacher part-time. I was loaded with different deaf organizations. They chose me as president, secretary, treasurer. I was very busy with the deaf organizations. Found that I was wasting time a little bit with family going to church. Here I was staying home doing this other stuff, working, supporting the family. I had a good job in Ohio, good job. And finally, my wife wanted to move back to the South. They didn't like the cold weather there in Ohio. You have to shovel the snow and all that business. So they liked the southern people. They're very nice. So we moved to Alabama. That's how my wife started to serve the deaf and go to the deaf, and I would go on and off. My wife said, I have 4 kids. You need to help me with these 4 kids to control them, okay? And then I need to back up a little bit. Our first workshop was in Birmingham, Alabama, with a small group of people in 1961, something like that. Went to it, congregation there. My old classmates I saw. David Donaldson, he was starting to preach. Well, I looked at him. And then the other old classmate, Charles Estes, he was preaching. Yes, but he went astray. But I'm sorry to hear that. But that's how it influenced me to begin thinking again. Finally, I accepted. I wanted to be baptized. And I praised my wife. What about you? You've been teaching her? You haven't been baptized. Yes, I know. My wife was the one that baptized her. My brother Whit Whittington, you remember Whit, came to our home time and supporting our home church, supported Whit as he traveled, encouraging, setting up deaf churches all over. Finally, I was baptized. Before I was, a preacher left. There was no one there to do the preaching. They knew I knew some Bible, so I started teaching. And the elders, Sandy, I think his name was, no, it's not a good idea for a non-Christian to teach us. So Sandy himself felt he needed somebody. He was studying and learning the signs. He's very slow, and everybody was falling asleep because he was just learning the sign. But he felt he had to follow exactly what the church said, the role of the church members. Anyway, I felt I need to do something. So after I baptized, I began to teach. And then I began to preach. A little awkward, but then as I progressed from there, my goal, I didn't go, there was no preaching school at that time, and no opportunity that I just know the Bible through my family counseling and God's led me through. And finally, I was a preacher. Someone said, "You're thankful to God for all of that." Family and other people encouraging me, and that's how I got started. At that time, I gave up a lot of different organizations. I cut that down because when I started teaching and preaching, it required a lot of work because I had a good job, good job. All day, then at night, I'd have to pay attention to church work, planning lessons with the family attention. Almost time with my family diminished because of that. And it hurt me a little bit. I gave up the deaf organization, but then had a little more time with the family and the children. But they grew up. They studied the Bible. They went to church, and they did their homework. And I noticed with Christians, family, people weren't happy. So they, if you didn't have a family, well, I'm missing the point. But another influence on me was my uncle. He himself was an elder of the church. My uncle preached. That was a strong influence on me. I was very proud of him. I never thought myself that I would be like that. But anyway, I was happy to learn about that. I began to write some more for deaf. There are 4 deaf preachers. I added their numbers, and I began to learn about other deaf preachers. 4 deaf preachers in the whole area. So I decided the whole United States that I knew of. I decided then I would become a preacher. I went to a church in Nashville. They offered me a full-time job as a preacher. My hometown was Huntsville, Alabama. I was a part-time preacher. I didn't get paid very much, but they're willing to pay me. They explained, 2 jobs? This became 1 job. I could just focus to just the 1 job. They said all their friends, they'd have to leave. They wanted to stay there, but I accepted the job. We discussed it back and forth. Finally, the elders from Central kept coming. This is the first time they explained what they needed, what they wanted. And they had 22 deaf people there. I explained, very important that we have a good room for the deaf, not in a small box. You need a better place. And the elder says, we can work with you. We can work with you on that, and we will support you. They knew Fanning Heights was very fine. It had a lot, but that the church didn't have very much. It was very different, and so finally, what is it God wants me to do? I thought that way. I decided okay, I'm going to accept that position. The children were sad because they had to leave all their friends. You know, my oldest daughter was really hardest on her. She was a junior, and I decided to move to Nashville, the school there, new place, new friends, if they can make friends. Oh, you know, that's hard when you're a senior. So over there, see, at home you're in the middle of everything to move to a new place. But she did make new friends right away. And that's how I really became a full-time preacher. And I've enjoyed it very much. The elders from Whittington's advice encouraged us to go to the workshop after I was baptized. And we went to workshop in North Carolina. After that, I started going to every year, all the workshops. 2 times I missed, I think. The first year at Lubbock, then I missed a couple. My father passed away, and I couldn't make it to the workshop. My mother passed away the same week we had a workshop here. Why? But after that, I started coming, and I think I've only missed 2 times. My wife had to work, and she couldn't come, or vacation time was limited. And so now she broke her ankle and missed again. Can't make it. Why? I don't know why, but as long as God is with us, we will still accept whatever comes our way. I'm looking through my notes here to see if I've covered everything. Another good thing that benefited me a lot was the first gospel meeting for the deaf in Huntsville. I learned from Hollis. He came from Louisville, was asked to come to Huntsville. I saw him for the first time. I heard of him, but then I saw him. My children loved him because what he would do. Hollis would use his car, and we'd go to the church, invite Hollis to come home with us to eat. And the children wanted to sit next to Hollis, so they sat next to Hollis. And I'd watch the interaction. Hollis was always inventing funny things. Things that they never saw, like a car with a window, electric windows. They'd never seen that. They didn't know what he was doing. Look up, point you up, and the window, they look up and the window would go up. He said, what's wrong with that place? Look at that. You have to push it up a little bit more. And they'd push on it and the window would go up. And they would do it with their finger, but they didn't know he was using an electric button making it go up and down. He teased them. And he also had tape with his hair, holding his hair on. Sometime he'd be talking to them, and his hair would come up, and he did it on purpose. And they scream, what's going on? And he was always teasing the children. Then heard about Hollis. He told us about Lloyd Williams, the deaf preacher. He wrote a letter and sent it off. And he accepted. At that time, we started gospel meetings. He drove an old VW. Drove a VW, and he came all the way from Texas in a VW bug. My father grew watermelon, yellow melons, red. You've have you ever heard of yellow melons? Well, my father did grow some yellow melons. And they look at that, do they taste good? Oh, sure they taste good. Oh, he said it's delicious. He couldn't believe a yellow melon would be good. Asked, can I bring yellow melons home and show my family? Of course. Father brought a whole bunch and gave them. And the little bug just filled it full. It was loaded down. And he drove all the way back to Texas. And then every time I met him, he said, oh, boy, give me some more yellow melons. Every time he said, I never forgot that, a yellow watermelon. Oh, sorry, he's passed away. We miss him. It was good influence on us. Then we started with the camp. Hollis came, first time, a gospel meeting in my first year as a Christian, and influenced us to go to camp. I don't know anything about a camp. He explained what it was. It's in Memphis. You need to go. Boy, they need a boy counselor. My daughter at that time was 9. 9 years up, and so she could go. So finally, I took my daughter, Frances, and we went to Memphis, arrived there at the camp. I worked as a boy counselor. It was a rewarding experience. Really benefited a lot. Worked with the kids, running all over, teaching. 2 years. Then it moved that because that land, they couldn't continue having the camp there. They sold it. So we learned there, started going to the home church near the camp. They loved that camp. Okay, I'd take them, bring them back. The church asked me to go there to work with them, with the hearing camp. So I went to the hearing camp with the kids. Then I heard that went down. What are you going to do if you can't find it? No, you'd have to cancel the camp. So I went. I was kind of awkward. I went to, after that went down, I explained, can we find another camp, maybe in Alabama? So I went to talk to my preachers, talk with them, and they found a place that we could have a opening for a week to have a deaf camp. So I informed everybody, and it went back, and it has continued there almost 30 years. Finally, we moved now to the new camp in Chattanooga area. We're now in our 4th area there. But led me there to help the deaf people go to camp in a Christian environment. We really enjoyed that. I want to add to that, we have another rewarding experience, going to mission trips. Jerry Drennan, go mission trip. I like that. I forgot my first mission trip was the Czech Republic. I went there. New culture. To learn their sign language. It's very awkward at hands. That's the way they signed for sign language. I learned some of their signs. I had to practice. And then I would teach in the Czech language. But I enjoyed it, and I benefited from that experience. Again, I went to another Slovakia, in Haiti. Then we went to Haiti. I looked around how people live there. I looked at God, and I said, thank you. I'm very thankful for my home in America. But I looked at those poor people, poor nation in the world, Haiti. I looked around really, but the people there are happy, friendly. They're very friendly. They never experienced riches of America. They don't know what it's like. How could you grow? They're very friendly. How could it impress me? I remember a long time ago when I was a little boy, I'd sit on the mules for a ride, go back and forth. And now I have all these cars and everything. And go to Haiti, it made me look back to the old mule days, the horse and buggy days. I felt like I hadn't grown up. All the cars, everybody more happy. They ate together. They're all together all the time. God can be with us no matter who we are. I learned that from these visits. The more mission trips in Africa than missed that. Oh, Kenya. I went to Kenya. And then went to Australia. And I learned the wonders of having a church for the deaf there. Deaf churches, flocking and supporting the deaf. Deaf man gave a gift of property, and then they changed it and built a church building. It impressed me to see that. I remember how America, the churches had a church for the deaf in Alabama, but it didn't stay long. It went down. Not many deaf churches continue, but in America, we have the most deaf churches supported by hearing people. We couldn't live without hearing people. People say, hey, we don't need to hear. Let the deaf sit. That's all right. But can you collect the money and build a building and the deaf would come? There's no successes where the deaf by themselves. We're thankful for what the hearing people who are motivated to work alongside of us, like Bob and Hollis and others, really appreciate that. Time is running by fast, so I guess I better try to get back to my notes. Yes. When I preach, I notice and appreciate working as a preacher as many new people are added. As years come and go, preachers quit. They drop by. Other new one comes and then they stop. And we need to pray often that our deaf men will have a great interest and motivation to preach the rest of their life. It's good. But there's no good school like this one, SIBI. It's trained, been fine, but we know some need to go out and quit. We need to pray that you will have the courage to give up yourself and go and pay attention to the work of God. Remember Birmingham Bible School for the Deaf. They did some good work, some preachers. They were very successful. The same. What's sad thing is there's no longer a Birmingham School for the Deaf. This is the only one right now. We need to come here and train. We pray that this school will never fold. Keep it going. Keep it going. We need to train more men to preach the word. Stay with my notes. Maybe 2 verses I want to give to you. I know Jesus told all of us to go into all nations and teach them. But everyone is not involved in the deaf work. Hearing people are interested in working with the deaf. want us to work with each other. I'm impressed with what's happening. But we need to encourage our young people to start getting attendance, not depend on the old preachers anymore. We need to go. I know we have to have somebody to follow up to keep the work going. Don't let it go down. Help it to continue to grow strong. I know that my days are numbered. I know a long time I was young, I had plenty of time left. I could go forever, many things, and plenty of time. But now the years have gone by. I'm looking in the mirror. Oops, I'm looking at this white hair. I'm thinking, I need to encourage some young men to get started. That's with some dark hair to grow and become white hair, or bald if you have to. We need everybody. We all can be. We all don't have to be the same. We want to see some young blood and sacrifice himself for God. I want to encourage our friends to come, be involved with the school, and then find a work of preaching and and go to the camp work and do some mission work. Boy, the deaf are in different nations all over the world. We need more workers for God. We just need that. I know that Jerry's working with the deaf for so many years here. Wow. Bob has done mission work. Who's going to follow us, though? We need some young men and women to help them. We need more. Also with camp. The camps are starting to go down. It's hard to recruit the deaf kids. The children, we ask, where can you find the children to go to camp? It's hard. We want to keep praying for that. I remember Jesus said, go into all nations and teach the gospel. In Matthew chapter 28, 19 and 20. Said, the harvest is plentiful, but there are few laborers, few workers. That's the way the deaf world is. I remember 7 million deaf in Mexico. 7 billion people in the world. What percentage of that population knows the truth about God? I wish it reversed. I wish that 90% knew about Christ. I wish the number that we had were reversed and be more. We need your help to try to find children, boys and girls that could go to camp with us. Go to your churches and find them. My time is about up. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you. I want to encourage you too to work. Let's all work together, brothers and sisters in Christ. God bless you all. Amen. I've been preaching for 42 years. If you have questions, I'll be glad. What would it cost a camp for the deaf children that would make everything free for them? What would you guess or estimate? I have a brochure with me with the expenses. But as you say, the cost factor that prevents mother and fathers letting them go because the travel, the camp, it's a long way to the camp. You get all the way to arrive there, so there's expense to get there. You have to sleep in a motel when you bring them. Some don't live, if they live close, it's easier for them. The camp is open for all. One corner to the other corner. Everybody's welcome. The cost, I know. But if you ask where you live, what your parents do, and then we are thankful that we should receive donations from people, and then my purpose is for the donations to come, not to waste, is for the children. I use that. If children have financial problems, then come on, we'll give them a scholarship free. You think what it costs? People say you live around the area, close to the deaf. Can the parents can afford? But the cost of the camp itself, what would you say the expense is? To give them a free $1,000 gift or what? Would that bring more people in? Thank you. You had $10,000. Oh boy, that would be great. That would be great. But we also, the camp expenses depend upon the camper's fee. Okay. The campers, you have to buy the food, clothing for the camp. Some staff workers teach, and they don't have a job, or they love to work with the kids. They come and help us, so we help them if they volunteer their work like that. Some oh no, we just can't give it to everybody. We want you to be truthful with us, that all the money we get, we spend it in the right way. We have enough money, for example, Billy, rice camp. Everybody comes to that rice camp. It's supported by different churches. All give their money to the Baptist organization, and all of them go free. I feel they think maybe you give money to us that just for fun. Oh, we have morning devotionals. It's just not fun at the camp. We have other churches can give the camp and it would be free for the deaf kids if they all gave. It would grow more. Our camp is so small, like Tom says, we wish, if you call it, you have $10,000 or $20,000. What would you have to? You'd have to advertise a lot to get that kind of money that you can advertise it would be free. I know more people come if it was free. I wish we could do that, but we do all we can with our finances limited to make it capable for people to go. More will come with your prayers. God's activity. It's up to Him. That we just keep going. Thank you, Bob, for interpreting. Right now, I believe the hard thing is getting names of deaf before, when the children stayed in the institutions or the school for the deaf, they would go to churches. Now the schools for the deaf closed on Friday, and the students all go home. They get no Bible training. They go home. Their parents are not going to church. We can't get the names. You can't go into a deaf school. I have the list of the children. No, illegal. How do you get the names of deaf children? You all have to talk to deaf people. You know the deaf people. Find out about their children and give us names, and we can advertise them. Then you can give free scholarship to them. That's the only way. That's simple. We don't have any deaf children in our camps anymore. We may have 3, 4, 5. It's become adult camps, and we enjoy it. It's fellowship like a workshop. Where are the children? Yes. Deaf parents, but most of the children are of hearing parents. But even the deaf parents, they go to different churches. So it's very difficult for them to get their names. And so if you work in around any place you see deaf children, get their names and talk to their parents and make friends, and then give their name to those that work in the camp. But that's when I see our big problem. We don't have any deaf boys. Where's the little boy? When I was in Indianapolis and going to camp, I would collect money from hearing people, and all the kids would go free in our bus. We'd bring them for a week or two, and we'd bring them back. But the fathers trusted us. I can't imagine today. Example, here in this church, we want to give a babysitter. Have to get adults that are certified by the Texas state that they have no sex offender watching the children. I never heard of anything like that. I was you take care of the kids. You can't do that anymore. A big church like this has to protect itself. You have to pay for people to be here to take care of the children. You have to make sure that they are certified as not on the sex offender list. But for Texas, we gave them one child. How many? You have to pay the full-time salary of this person to be there. Camp. Can you imagine? Parents you don't know, leaving their children take 400 miles away. Would you trust your child with that? I laugh. I would preach all day in Indianapolis. I would teach Bible class and preach. And I'd throw the bus, pick up people an hour before, all that. And then in the afternoon, we start about 4, we go pick up the people, go to church. But on camp day, we do all that work, and then we load people in the bus with all the luggage. And then the father